And then
Great.
Barstool America's in June.
Yeah, it's coming right up.
And that is going to be.
It's going to be
that's
great.
They're nuts. It's ridiculous.
All right, it's Thursday, May 28th. Can you believe it's May 28th? It's May 28th. Oh, shit. All right, it's... I'm blind. Oops. All right. Starting over again. It's Thursday, May 26th, 2022. This is episode 217 of the Token CEO podcast. I'm Erika Nardini. I'm the CEO of Barstool Sports. Before you do anything, subscribe to the show on YouTube. You can go to the link someplace around here. You can subscribe to us. You can also get our merch. I've got the new business casual sweatshirt on. If you go to the Barstool Sports store, you can find our entire merch collection. We have an awesome show today. We've got Jeff D. Lowe. We find out what the D stands for. So we've got Jeff joining us to talk about his journey at Barstool Sports, creating the Dozen, and our newest reality show, which is Barstool versus America. We also have Rich Greenfield. So Rich Greenfield, one of my favorite people on the internet, texted him in the car this morning at like 7:30, 7:45, and I was like, hey, what are you doing around 11 o'clock today? Can you talk to me about, I wanted to talk about BuzzFeed, because BuzzFeed has basically announced that their strategy is to buy revenue. But then between the time that I texted him and 11 a.m., Snapchat's earnings comes out. Snapchat's getting imploded. They're signaling that they're going to see a loss in profit. So blah, blah, blah. Long story short, Rich joins us to talk about high level what's going on in the economy and what is affecting media businesses. We will do Q&A, and then we'll do Circling Back with Bryn. All right, so before we get into it, we have a lot going on at Barstool. So first is that Pup Punk, our faux house band, is playing at the Oceans Calling Festival, which is playing at the end of September in Maryland with Dave Matthews and Tim Reynolds, Alanis Morissette, the Lumineers, Cyndi Lauper, like everybody I like to listen to. It's basically the Spectrum channel on Sirius lineup, and Pup Punk is playing on Saturday night. So I don't even know how that came together. I texted Frankie Borelli yesterday and I was like, hey dude, this week, like Tiger basically brought you into his clubhouse, and now Pup Punk is playing with Dave Matthews at a festival. Like, you should buy some insurance. Like, I don't know what is going on right now, but this is amazing. So that's a big moment. We did a live stream for the Premier League Championship. We, I think, did 10 live streams in the last 7 days. We obviously had a big weekend last weekend with Rough and Rowdy. Obviously, people were bitching Dave, and Dave didn't make the broadcast, although I thought he did an amazing job live tweeting it. But I also love that the way we did it is really just the essence of Barstool, right? So Dave and Caleb are stuck at the airport for 6 hours trying to get from Florida to West Virginia. Dan and company are stuck trying to get from New Jersey to West Virginia. Both are late. Nobody knows if the show's going off. No one's panicked. Pete's like, maybe I'll be on the broadcast. Large stepped up. Robbie stepped up. I actually thought it was one of the best broadcasts that we had. I think it was the 4th biggest Rough and Rowdy we've ever done. Obviously, a lot of people were complaining that Dave wasn't on, and Dave's a magnet in that regard, but also a really awesome opportunity for people to step up. And the other thing that, I don't know, I love it here is that I think if you were at a major network, if you were going to Sunday Night Football and Chris Collinsworth wasn't there, people would be freaking out. And what's nice about Barstool is that you just kind of roll with it, where Pete's like, I don't know, maybe I'm on the mic. And long story short, just the chaos continues. Other big things, we're obviously figuring out what's next in a lot of ways inside of the company. So how do we do what we do? What are the roles? It was funny, we were having a funny conversation in our business meeting yesterday where there's a couple of people who we put on performance plans, which in a regular company is called a PIP. So it's a performance improvement plan. And in most companies, or at least every company I've ever worked at, when you get put on a PIP, you're like, fuck, this is bad. Like, to doom and gloom. And the feedback at Barstool is that everybody on a PIP is like, thank you so much for the feedback and direction. Like, I'm so glad to have clarity on my job, which is kind of a signal about what a shit show it's been. But I also think it's just such a unique place. We're going through this budgeting exercise. Like, the budgets used to be held centrally and very tightly, and now I'm like, give everybody their budget. Like, everyone is an adult, they need to stick to their budget, give them a budget. And people are so excited to be given a budget. They don't even care that if it's a small budget. I love that the things that normally would make other companies go crazy are the things that just create the occasion for people to rise and to be accountable and to make things happen. So I think that's awesome. I think Jeff D. Lowe, when he joins this show, is a great example of that, of just someone who did his thing. He did it well. He did it without a lot of visibility. Now he's hosting two of our biggest shows that are going to come out this spring and summer. And he never complained. He never was bitter. He never really asked for more. He always talked about what more he wanted to do. And I think that that's awesome. I love when people like that have success. You know, I think the other thing about Jeff that's awesome, I think it was like about a year ago, after the first dozen, Dave was like, you have a lifetime contract. And I think that's what's so exciting about content and about culture and about media, is that like things can change like that overnight. But I also feel that Jeff made a lot of his own success, which is just really important in you could go from being a nobody to being a somebody overnight. If you have the work ethic and you have the drive and you have the passion to make things happen, that success will stick. So I think that those are awesome things about Jeff.
How are you?
What do you have psoriasis?
I do.
Is that how you say it?
Psoriasis. PS, yes.
Oh. Wait, so does it come and go? How's this work?
I guess I have it for the rest of my life now.
How'd you get it?
I don't know.
Well, what'd they say?
No one in my family has ever had it. The dermatologist was perplexed. She couldn't believe it. She's like, no one in your family's had it. I was like, no.
What is it technically?
It's just like a skin like irritation, dries up.
So can you take a pill for it?
Yeah, you can take shots. I have to put like creams on. I look like really greasy right now.
You look like you just had a facial.
Like a glazed donut.
Maybe glazed donut. Okay.
Which I didn't know all that stuff was so greasy. It's just like
Well, it's probably nice to moisturize your skin. Yeah. How long does it last?
I'm pretty good with that stuff, but the terrifying thing was it started when we were on tour for Barstool America, and we got lucky because I got a little lucky that it was so cold, which is going to be a great part of that show, by the way. It's so cold. It looks so stupid, like in a funny way. But I had to wear long sleeves, so I covered it up.
Oh, okay.
So I got lucky in that sense. But
okay.
Yeah, so it's just kind of just here now.
Does it itch?
Yep.
Okay. Are you like this right now?
Yeah, I'm like really.
Okay.
And the dermatologist was like, you definitely made it worse. I can tell you itched. Actually, the funniest thing when she was looking at it yesterday is she was like, wow, that's a spot. And she goes, this one's weird. She goes, I actually don't know what this is. This one's concerning. She goes, your skin is like very miscolored. I said, that's spray tan. I said, that's.
Oh, you're a spray tan guy?
Yeah. It's like, that's from a spray
Always?
tan. Just for the dozen tournament, and like we go to the live shows, I do.
Okay.
You know?
Anyways, all right. So for people who don't watch the dozen, explain the dozen.
It's a trivia show. We do half pop culture, half sports. There's 2 teams of 3. And they compete against each other, and team with the most at the end wins. It started as a replacement.
And this is your invention.
Started as a replacement we had a trivia show on radio, Sirius, and I want to say April would have been, a month into the pandemic? It was about April or May of
April 14th,
COVID.
2020.
Yeah, COVID area.
Yeah.
And
we were inventing shows all over the place.
PFT was like, I kind of want to do trivia, and so was I'd never done a show with Brandon Walker before. And it was actually the original idea for the dozen was we were going to do Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with Brandon.
Okay.
And people would call in and try to beat him.
Okay.
And then they were like, well, we should just do our own branding. So I said, you know what?
In your opinion, is he good at trivia or no?
He is, but he's done it so many times now where like, I feel like when you do it so many times and it's like, it's not like playing basketball. Like it's just trivia. Like you can't
get better.
You can't really get better at it. So it kind of exposes them.
Oh, okay.
But they are pretty good at
it.
Okay. They're pretty good
hot
at it.
for a streak, but then
yes,
you never...
he knows a lot. Like
okay.
if we went pound for pound, 1 versus 1, Brandon would beat most everyone in the office.
If you had to go pound for pound and stack rank the top 5 trivia players at this company,
I would say Kirk number 1.
Kirk, brilliant.
Kirk and then Brandon. I would probably say Nick Trainee after that. Coley probably right after that. And then 5... That's tough. It's a pretty big drop off. Chris Castellani's really good, but that's also like I would probably say Large. Okay. Large is really good. Large has Kirk, Large, and Brandon have a really big advantage because they have kids. Like Kirk can get and Large can guess music for younger people because they hear it.
And the rest of these guys can't.
Right. This office is so bad at any song released after 2015. It's unbelievable. This office knows no music except for Nick and
really?
KB. That's why they're so good. They know music.
Okay.
It's a huge advantage.
Okay, so that's their advantage. Who has the sports advantage? Who's best at sports?
Probably Brandon. Brandon's out there with sports.
And what about entertainment?
Entertainment, probably Kirk.
Okay.
Kirk watches every new movie. He loses it a little bit with like if we went into like comic book movies and Star Wars and stuff.
But that you
Fran is up there. Fran is like
why aren't there any women?
Fran is. I mean, we have two now, Keegs and Fran.
Okay.
They're pretty good.
All right.
It's open.
Top 5.
It's an open league.
Is it?
People can.
I
we
would
have
try
more
out,
teams
but it
next year.
seems like a large time commitment.
It's not. It's not a large time commitment. It is a great way to feel really dumb. That's why some people don't like doing it. Like, we have some people who don't, like, we have some non-content people, like Rudy and Jack McCarthy. And Jack McCarthy says, I get no mentions on Twitter, nothing. And when I play the dozen, it's a war zone. It's people just yelling at me, like, telling me I'm an idiot.
You're an idiot for getting the question wrong. Okay.
So
one of the things I love about you is we kind of hired you. PFT had wanted to bring on LCB, Lights Camera Barstool, which is your kind of movie entertainment show. And you were kind of one of those sleepers. Like you were a sleeper here for a long time. Like when did you join?
4 years ago.
Yeah.
Like actually 4 years ago this week.
Okay, so 4 years ago, and I feel like you hit your stride. What do you think? 8 months ago?
It was. I would say
with the launch of the dozen. So
I would say the dozen tournament.
Maybe
so
up to 2 years. Yeah.
I would honestly say it didn't. Like the dozen was like getting there, but I think it was not like legitimate until we did it in person here.
Yeah.
It was a different so I'd probably say a year.
So, and you're kind of a different cat here, which is you came from GMA, you had real training, you came from a legitimate place, you had a real job, which I think everyone was like, ugh. How would you describe your career here?
Worth the risk for sure.
Yeah.
I knew when I quit, this was probably like the top place that I would, because I had already had the podcast at that time, and so I knew I kind of wanted to be here, and I knew PFT, like we knew some people.
From the internet?
Yeah, basically. That's really it. I mean, would tweet back and forth like Big Cat and Kevin. So I knew some people. So but I would say definitely worth the risk. It was a huge risk.
And how would you describe it now that you've been here?
I mean, it's just I'm the best. I just don't think there's. I know that's the thing too. I worked in the literal most dinosaur, mainstream media, morning TV, and the opportunities there. I have one friend who wanted to be on camera, and he just started doing some on-camera stuff, and that took him years. And he's to be good at it, but I know it is. You have to really be lucky. It's really more about luck than anything. It's about timing. The right person has to be sick for you to ever be on camera.
Yeah, sure.
And for the most part, a lot of those people are never going to retire and leave.
Yeah.
And so you really...
Yeah, they're clinging on to that spot.
Or you have to do local news, which is just... there was never an option for me doing local news out of college. I never in a million years would have done local news.
Because you didn't like it or you'd never get a shot?
I just wouldn't be 4 years in some nowhere town doing local high school
and with
sports.
a chance to get to the big city.
I could not pretend to care about some local random high school sports for 4 years.
I got you.
So that was this place tomorrow, again last year I didn't know I was going to host Barstool versus America. I love the dozen. My favorite thing here is Barstool versus America. The fact that I can just,
okay, so describe Barstool versus America.
That is now I guess it's our Amazing Race Survivor hybrid, and I love the dozen, but also I do production behind the scenes of the dozen. I do a lot of editing. It is exhausting. I love it.
How do you come up with the questions?
I kind of on the fly, what I know.
Okay.
But that's a lot of work. Barstool versus America, that's a cakewalk. I do nothing. I just sit there and
show up with a spray tan.
The toughest thing is I sit on. It's a lot of standing around, but I live for it. It is I'm like a kid in a candy shop.
Why do you love it? What do you love about it?
I just love hosting stuff, and I'm a big Survivor fan.
Okay.
So getting to host shows like that.
Yeah.
And the people who help make our shows, they work one of the guys that left from Barstool versus America. He went to South Africa for 2 months to executive produce Naked and Afraid. So they're real the people helping us are legitimate.
Yeah, they actually do this for a living. Yeah, the sets are amazing.
I love that.
So, and what do you think about our characters in those environments? Do you think you see sides of our talent that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
The new season coming out is going to be unreal.
Okay, give it the pitch. Why should someone watch it?
We add characters that I think you have not seen in this element before. Nick and KB. People love to say Nick and KB they don't care about anything. They're not going to give a shit. Nick I won't spoil much. They're going to be like, this guy's that competitive, like scary competitive.
Huh.
And then Joey and Pat, they're in a whole,
just lovable.
Joey and Pat are, I don't know how like Joey exists. He's unbelievable. Just so funny, so wild. The first episode, there's a couple things that happen with all 4 of those people that if you watch our stuff or haven't, you're going to be hooked because you're like, these people are nuts, like in the best way. Because that's what reality, you have to be a little nutty.
Yep.
So,
and
I'm excited for that.
How do you combine being the host either of the dozen or a reality show and all the personalities?
Both. It's funny dealing with the dozen is I get the worst of everybody because no matter how much people want to say they don't care about that show,
they care a lot about that show.
The second they're in that moment, and actually the tournament this year, last year when we did the tournament in person, I think nobody knew how to act because we'd done it for how many months? Like 12 months on Zoom. And so it was fun that you log off. But in here, people were like, do we take it seriously?
Okay.
And the only ones who like truly took it hardcore was Chicago, was Chief, Carl, and Dave. And they got eliminated in the first round. But this year, way different. Like everyone's super, like from Dave all the way down to Reegs to Nick, everyone was super into it. And it's intense. And, I get yelled at. They yell at me.
Why?
They get mad. Like if they miss,
they
think it's
like
unfair.
The question. Yeah,
right. They think it's unfair. They think it's unbalanced. But I like, I have to like go with that because I'd rather them do that than be like, oh, whatever. Like, no big deal.
What's the biggest thing you've learned here? Like, what have you learned, and what's your advice to the kid in Good Morning America in your shoes?
If it doesn't work, let it go. Don't cling on. Like, just try to always reinvent. That's the thing. It's like especially here, it's tougher here compared to like a Good Morning America where it's like you're not really creating a bunch of stuff, you're just doing your job, that's all you can do. But here, I learned pretty quick, like I was doing a ton of stuff, like the more I thought I put out, the better, but then like some things like just wouldn't hit. I don't know if it's a crowded space, maybe it's not good. And I had like a pretty big like come to Jesus on it last year where I was like, I need to just stop.
With yourself?
Like I need to stop making, it's like some of these things, like they're great, and I love it, like a breakdown of a show.
Yeah.
It was doing fine, but was it really worth our time to spend like 2 days on it? Probably wasn't. It's like focus on the things that are going to do well and make them perfect as opposed to trying to like juggle. That's be my advice for anyone who starts working here and who like doesn't come in with like established success. So has to like kind of build something. It's like if it doesn't work, like focus on 1 or 2 things and make it perfect.
That work. They really get behind them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. I think people kind of get scattered into pulled here.
I'm a great example. Like just too many. And like I love doing a lot of things. Like I love doing like helping with like the draft show behind the scenes. I'm like but like in terms of like little mini shows, and you're like, holy shit, like this is too much stuff.
That's good advice. And what would you say to somebody who's in the system somewhere, right? NBC, ABC, and wants to get out, or is
get out? Like no, because like it was very valuable. Like I learned a lot. The funniest thing is the biggest thing I learned at that company was like respecting people behind the camera. That was like the biggest. I won't you see how some people get treated and how people like respect, whether it's graphics people running the teleprompter. It's eye-opening. Mostly because
of the lack of respect that you saw.
Yeah, and it's like because I think right now, and maybe I would actually say since I've left, it's been 4 years, it's less that case now because a lot of people behind the camera are truly like they're closer to my age. And they did edit in college, and they did do that stuff. But when I kind of got there, it was still that sort of in between. This person's been on air for 25 years, and not all of them are bad. Like Robin Roberts, great, would never like yell unless it was like a really bad problem. Like always respectful, but some aren't, and they would scream at like the prompter person because they're a touch slow. And you watch that, you're like, damn, I would never ever do that. Like that's just not. Yeah,
that's not how we roll here.
It's like you just gotta, I don't know, like you just like have respect for people.
Yeah,
it's like
for
their thing is probably just as hard or harder than whatever you're doing in the moment.
And they're going to pay a fraction of what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah, you're really making millions. Yeah.
What do you not like about Barstool?
And we'll go back to the anal thing. Organization kills me.
Yeah.
I love that we're like free.
Yeah.
And we can kind of do whatever and we're wacky, but there are times where I'm like,
come on, guys.
Organized.
Yeah.
Like, that's why like the dozen is like kind of a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, because you're like, I'm running this show. Yeah.
And the other behind-the-scenes person, so 2 of the people who are doing it, Jake Lasofsky's like the lead editor.
He's so great.
Trey, who works in graphics in this video, I don't know why Trey works here. He's way too smart for all of us. But we thought about this show from the second it ended last year because it was just too much last year. We bit off way more than we could chew. And like it's been so lockstep this whole like these last couple weeks, and I'm like, this is such a breath of fresh air.
And are both of those two anal?
Maybe not as much as me, but they're pretty on like they're on top of it. They're really on their shit. And it's like that's the thing. It's like we can have like the Barstool moment stuff. Like we can have those wacky things.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you. I think that
but we can be organized to get to that.
Being organized doesn't mean you can't have wacky moments all the time. Like that's kind of the misnomer.
Like one of our a great example. One of our matches airing this week is Big Cat's team against Will Compton's team. It is a shit show, but it's like that's the content that's wacky.
Yeah,
like, the
you
lead up
create
to it's
the
great.
Environment. For a shit show.
It build up. We're like the shit show can happen. We're like good. Everything else is fine now, and like it can look great, and we can be organized when it comes out. And that's my biggest like. There's some times where I'm like, oh my god, I wish there was an easier like pipeline of answers and this and that. Though it kind of feels like we sort of
we're getting there.
Getting there.
Slowly getting there.
Yeah.
All right. Tell people how to follow you.
At Jeff D. Lowe on Twitter. But
what's a D stand for?
It's my middle name. So it's only because at Jeff Lowe wasn't available.
Oh, wasn't available? But Jeff D. Lowe is so great.
Like 2009, I got on Twitter. And because at Jeff Lowe wasn't available, I then just etched my name, my name, my internet personality name for the rest of my life. Just my it's my dad's name.
It's
David.
How special is that?
Yeah.
And it's
which never meant anything to me until now.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But that was also one of my favorite moments. I felt like we were a family with you. LA
was that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. That was wild. But yeah, the live show for the Dozen in LA the day before my dad passed away. He'd been sick for a while, but it got super bad, like right when I got to California. And so I luckily got to talk to him like 3 days before, but he passed like the day before. And
all he wanted, tell him about
that's
how
all he cared
proud
about
your dad was.
My mom said the only thing he asked about was like, how is LA going? And then he was kind of out of it, so he didn't know if it happened or not yet. Like, how is it? And she was like adamant. Because I know you and Dave both were like, you got to go, leave.
Yeah,
like, this
go
is
home.
not.
Go home.
But at that point, it was also like, he never complained. Like, that's the thing. It's like, I'm already catching myself with like my psoriasis, like my skin. He never complained. Like diabetes his whole life. Yeah. And then avoided COVID and some fucking gave it to him because they came to the house with it and didn't know. And my mom gave him a kidney 10 years ago. It failed. So he was in the process of getting a new kidney. Just like never complained though. Never ever complained. Actually, the only time I'd ever heard him complain, he accidentally called me. I went to call my mom when he was in the hospital, and I said, "How are you?" He said, "Not great." And that's when the first time that was a week before LA.
You kind of knew it was bad.
It's like, fuck. I've never heard him say like stuck needles his whole life.
Yeah.
It's like, damn. But
what
then
a great person.
He passed. But so it was very special to not just do it in LA, but then like it was so funny too. Like Dave asked me by the pool in LA too. He's like, did your dad watch this? I said, yes. He rooted for your team. It's like him and Big Cat were like, I think Jeff's dad will want us to do this or want us to win. And so it was like my mom, like, and I watched them both, like all the match, my mom, and my sister, and like it meant the world to them. Like it was so nice. So I ended up like obviously the worst thing in the world, but it worked out great. I'm glad I did it.
He's so proud.
Yeah, it was like it would have been, it was tough and like in the moment, like when I was like getting ready to show, I'm like, I kind of wish I wasn't doing this right now.
Yeah.
But then when we did it, I was like, I would have regretted not doing it. So it ended up working. And actually, we're gonna the trophy for the Dozen now. It's gonna be his name's gonna be on it.
Ah, that's so great.
Which is a cool. Like,
yeah, I love that. Such a great tribute. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, so Jeff D. Lowe.
But then at the Dozen Trivia. On Twitter and Instagram, and then
back to the social handles.
At Lights Camera. Barstool, all that. If you want to follow. But my name, you going back to the middle initial?
No, you just told me it's David, right?
Yeah, David.
Okay, but
I don't tell many people that. I don't know why.
Really? Well, now you're telling a bunch of people.
People like to guess, and no one ever guesses.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have guessed Douglas.
No, okay.
Like a good Midwestern name, you know?
My dad's from the Midwest, so I would have lined up.
Yeah.
No, just David.
Well, I appreciate you, and I'm so happy for your success here.
No, thank you.
I really do.
You know, I love, like, I live for, like, working here and, like, for making cool shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's, like, all I care about.
That's amazing. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations.
No, thank you.
And watch the Dozen this week, and then Barstool versus America.
Dozen this week and next week. It ends on June 2nd with the championship, and then Barstool America is in June.
Yeah, it's coming right up.
And that is going to be...
That's going to be great.
They're nuts. It's ridiculous.
Awesome.
There's some mean people on that show.
Really? Who's the meanest? Can't say.
I won't say. People look a little mean.
Nick?
Maybe.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff D. Lowe.
Yeah, thank you.
See you later. That was great. All right. So I like efficiency. I spend a lot of time watching kids play games. If you look at it, they've got shit going on Twitch. They've got the Roblox. They've got Minecraft. They've got the Sony PlayStation. They've got your Xbox. If you've got a lot of clutter, if you're playing games in all different places, you can consolidate everything into one place with Backbone. What's amazing about Backbone is it looks exactly what it looks like, which is your phone becomes the gaming controller. So if you're tired of having like this device and that device and another device, Backbone consolidates that for you. You can play all your games in one place. Your phone becomes the apparatus that you play with. Ooh, good SAT word. And you can get a Backbone if you go to playbackbone.com/token. And you can, if you do this before June 30th, so you have a month to do it, you can get free access to over 350 console games and perks, including 1 month free of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, 1 month free of Apple Arcade, 2 months free of Google Stadia Pro, and 3 months free of Discord Nitro. So you can find your next adventure. You can clean up all the shit happening around with your gaming if you go to playbackbone.com/token. That's playbackbone.com/token. So look, I think if you're listening to this and you're not aware that we're entering into a recession, you need to have like a wake up kind of moment. So the economy is in tough shape. I don't know if you have Robinhood. Go look at your Robinhood stocks. It's like down and to the right, down and to the right, red, 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 red. Things aren't good. Obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty in the world. Inflation is a massive deal. There's a huge amount of concern around the pullback in ad spending. Ad spending follows consumer spending. So when consumers spend less, advertisers have less to spend. And I think it's a pretty sobering time. Like, it's a lot of doom and gloom around media companies in particular in the news right now. I think some of it's overstated. I think some of it's understated. What I love about the conversation with Rich is like, look, companies that have real audiences and are creating engagement and driving time spent and are capturing attention are companies that are worth betting on. And so if you want to buy stocks, if you've got money lying around, like, now's a great time to buy. If you want to get in cheap, now's a good time to do it. But I also think it's a sobering moment for, we've been riding high on the Great Resignation. Like, I've had more conversations in the last 6 months about, I'm going to go join a startup. I'm going to go take equity in this thing. And it's like, you know what? Nobody's giving financing to anyone at this point. The likelihood of companies succeeding is diminishing. And again, you've got to be part of a brand, or you've got to be part of a product if you want to work in culture and media that actually means something or that can stick. So I think it's a buckle up time. We're buckling up here. We're obviously thinking about our current revenue. We've been thinking about our current revenue. We're thinking about our future revenue. We're trying to get sharper about how we get after it. But I also think this is one of those periods where if you don't have a product that resonates with a consumer and you don't give people a reason to stay loyal to you, your business is going to be in trouble. And that's true if you're a creator. That's true if you're a packaged goods company. It doesn't matter what it is. And I feel really fortunate that we're in good shape on that. All right. So, Rich, what is happening? Why is the world imploding? What happened to the internet stocks?
Have you gone to the supermarket lately or to get gas?
Yes, that little thing called inflation.
It's getting a bit more expensive, Erika, isn't it?
It is.
Just a tad more expensive. I don't think wages are increasing at the same rate. So, people are definitely, there is no doubt that the global economic outlook is getting worse. You saw it from Walmart and Target. You heard a little bit from Best Buy. Obviously, Snapchat owned up to it this morning, but sort of everywhere you look, economy is slowing and fear is setting in. We haven't had a quote unquote recession in quite some time. We had a panic around the start of the pandemic, if you remember, in April, May, kind of that April period of 2020 where everyone was like, oh my God. But, look, what's happening right now is businesses are seeing a sluggish demand or sluggish activity from the consumer. It's causing companies to start spending less on advertising and get nervous. And so, this cycle, look, I've covered media stocks for 27 years. I've seen this before. This is not new. It's just we've been in a very long bull market where people forget that there are more difficult economic periods. It's not like the US is going away. It's not like the market's going to implode forever. It's just we go through pullbacks and slower periods.
It's funny. I was having a conversation with Gaz on the way to work this morning, and we were reminiscing that when the pandemic started, we both bought a bunch of internet stocks because they were imploding, right? Penn was at $4. Snap was down.
Snap was at 13. Snap was at 13.
Snap was at 13. And then it was like, oh, we got so much value. And now it's back to where it was, or almost back to where it was. So what's your take in terms of, is now a good time to buy? Are you still bullish on these companies? Do you think the retraction of ad dollar, how devastating is the retraction of ad dollars?
Look, I'm always a consumer usage type person. Like, I always focus on what's the consumer doing. It's like, did Netflix stumble? Sure. But is the trend towards streaming television here to stay? Yes. Are they going to be the biggest winner? Yes. Is Snapchat losing engagement? Are people all of a sudden, is the entire generation all of a sudden shifting from Snapchat to some other messaging platform or chat platform? No, they're using Snap. In fact, if anything, they're using Snapchat more. I mean, if you look at the way I would assume a lot of your users use Snapchat, not only do they spend a lot of time messaging their friends and it's their core messaging app, they now live and breathe the map. They want to know everywhere on the map. And the map creates so many possibilities. I mean, there literally could be a Barstool map. Like, what are Dave's favorite places, or what are Dave and Erika's favorite places in New York? And you could have a completely customizable map for Barstool or for Stoolies inside of Snapchat. And like, I see the way my daughters live on the map. They see what their friends are doing. Like, it's a true utility. Whereas if you think about what happens at Instagram right now, I think Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, they're all getting hurt by TikTok. I think TikTok is eating into time spent because it's truly entertainment. You know, when you listen to the TikTok pitch, it's all about entertainment, and they are taking entertainment time spent. So I'm actually more worried about things that are in TikTok's crosshairs. Look, even TV. I mean, there was a great quote, Charlie Ergen, who runs Dish Network, the satellite company. He was probably the first person that really identified the from Netflix to TV. And this is probably 7 or 8 years ago. He was just very upfront. He's like, look, I got kids or grandkids, and like, they're not watching TV, they're watching Netflix. Like, that's a problem. Last week, it was interesting. He said, or this is like 2 weeks ago now, and he goes, you know, a couple of years ago, people would watch the Discovery Channel, or they would watch, you know, TV. Now they watch TikTok. And I think that's like, if you care about food, do you watch the Food Network or do you watch Food Talk on TikTok? And
my mother came last weekend and she's like, I'm into horse TikTok. And I was like, I mean, my mother is into horse TikTok.
That's the point, is that you remember the silos of cable TV. I feel like that's what TikTok actually has.
Sorry, Rich, let me interrupt you. What is the TikTok pitch?
Yeah.
When they give you the pitch, what is it?
The TikTok pitch is, we are fun. We are entertainment first, and we're fun. We are the bright and sunny place on the internet. We are not the evil parts of the internet. And yes, there's some, I'm sure that you can certainly find negative content, but I think the fact that it's not your friend's feed, it's not a news feed, it literally gives you more of what you like. And so if you like horses, like your mom, you get a lot of horses. If you like makeup, like my youngest loves, you see lots of makeup videos. And whatever you love, I mean, you love slime, you're going to get a lot of slime videos on TikTok. And you don't need friends. You don't even need to follow. Like, you don't have to go click on, I don't need to know that Erika loves sports to click on Erika.
Yeah,
I just need to follow sports, and it's
irrelevant.
Correct. Yeah. The algorithm is so good.
Okay, so let's talk about, speaking of not good algorithms, you had a fascinating tweet, I want to say it was last week or maybe the end of the week before, on BuzzFeed. So give me, what's your take on BuzzFeed right now?
I mean, I just can't really figure out what BuzzFeed is. I mean,
what is BuzzFeed?
I mean, it's essentially becoming more and more of a content producer for hire. But I think as a consumer brand, and I think the problem that a lot of these sites have come into, I mean, think about it. Go back, this is not just BuzzFeed specific, but BuzzFeed, Vice, Refinery 29. I mean, we can go through the list, but there's this whole group of internet first brands that, and again, this is not BuzzFeed specific, but it's just like, they didn't become critical brands. You know, I still always think about the most important word to me is passion. And if the BFF, if Josh and Dave literally tell people listening, hey, go line up in Times Square at noon this afternoon.
Yeah, there'll be people in Times Square at noon.
There will be, and they will have no idea why they're there. And they'll probably be wearing T-shirts that say BFFs or Barstool or whatever. I don't think brands like BuzzFeed and Vice and they don't have that passionate, loyal audience. The brand doesn't really mean anything. There may be content that you watch or you look at because it's in your feed or it's suggested by a friend, but you don't have a passion about it. And I think the fact that they don't have they don't have a passionate brand following. Two, they don't have their own platform. So it's, right. It's one thing, if you're not going to have your own platform like a Facebook or a Snapchat or a TikTok, if you're going to live on other people's platforms,
you have to have a passion. Yeah.
And if you don't have either of those two things, there's one word that comes to mind: trouble. Big trouble.
Yep.
And I think you're seeing that, right? Like, I don't know what the future of that is. It just seems like these are very small businesses. They may exist. I'm not saying they're going away. It just feels like they are very small businesses. And again, can you really drive a merch business if you don't have passion? I mean, I think the reason people buy Barstool merch, right? Like, the reason they buy merch is because they love your content. Right?
That's right. They love the brands. That's right.
Correct. Who's buying ESPN merch?
Yeah, nobody.
Right? I mean, it's not they don't have a lot of good content that people watch, but I don't think there's anyone walking around Times Square this afternoon in an ESPN shirt. I think it's very, very difficult to build brands. And I think that's sort of one of the fundamental problems you're seeing is if you don't have your own platform and you don't have a passionate brand, you're basically just living on, essentially your production studio for hire. And it's like low cost production studio that has some value if you can create some good content, but just a relatively small business.
Which is, frankly, it's non-differentiated. That's the other issue, right? If you go to BuzzFeed, HuffPost, like the listicle in the day was a differentiated product, right? The idea of...
It was unique and special at that time.
Correct. But they didn't evolve from the time.
It was really unique.
That's right. All right, Rich, how long does this go on for?
What do you mean?
This recession. The pullback. What's your gut?
I mean, if I had that crystal ball, I would not be talking to you. I would be very much retired with a Mai Tai somewhere on a beach. So I don't know. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I literally have no idea. I think the important thing is, and I think you're seeing this in the private markets too, is like everyone's trying to think about making sure they have enough capital. Snapchat's not going away. They have no debt maturities until 2027. Like, this is not companies going away. I think the question is, will you see a lot of startups that are going to struggle? Absolutely. I mean, this is going to be a brutal financing environment. What we're looking at, I mean, we have a ventures business and we're definitely being far more cautious about making sure the companies we invest in don't need to raise a lot of capital over the next 12 or 18 months because it's going to be a very challenging environment.
The creator economy, like I think there's a Vanity Fair article on, the demise of Cameo, right? Cameo is seeing their business pull back. And I think there was a great phrase that it's winter for the creator economy. Do you agree with that or disagree with that?
No, I totally disagree with that. I think the reality is and full disclosure, Lightshed Ventures did it. We have an investment vehicle that had invested in Cameo. So, but leave that aside. Let's move on from just Cameo specific. I mean, I think Cameo's got an interesting marketplace business that they can work with.
Correct.
Once you create a marketplace, you can do a lot of things with that marketplace. Like they just signed a big deal with Snapchat, but let's leave that aside. The creator economy is not going anywhere. The idea that, think about Charlie D'Amelio, went from literally nowhere to not just famous on TikTok, but TV show and merchandise line.
Yeah.
Correct. That ability to become famous and to leverage your fame, I think that is just beginning. And I think all of these platforms and the fact that you can basically become famous on platforms like like TikTok without people even needing to know who you are because the algorithm
algorithm does the work for you.
I think, look, the creator economy is going to take a lot of different forms, but we are very early. And I think we've gone from, if you think about it, we've gone from linear TV or linear forms of broadcast to streaming television, but it's still primarily the people that are winners in that economy are essentially professionals. Two, if you think about what's happening now in the connected TV world, and it started, right? You're seeing like, what's the number 2 app on a connected TV? It's YouTube, right? TikTok's going to have TikTok TV. It's early stages, but it's coming. So the ability to become famous, really famous, without having to be a traditional celebrity, meaning the creator economy, and finding ways to monetize. Let's go back full circle. I mean, Dave Portnoy is essentially a creator. He's an early creator, but if you think about it,
correct.
He's an OG creator. I don't think he would think of himself often as that, but he was the OG of the creator economy, and he basically monetized himself through merch.
But what he did that was different, though, is that he built a platform around him that was bigger than him.
Sure.
That to me is the question for these guys.
And I don't think there's, first of all, very few people do that. I mean, you see it with someone like Reese Witherspoon, right? She's trying to take her celebrity and movie star fame and build a business in Hello Sunshine that is larger than her. It doesn't happen very often. Even celebrities don't do it very often. Will Smith was obviously has been trying with Westbrook, but look, smart entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs will figure out ways to build larger businesses. I don't think that's the be all and end all of the creator economy. No. That's what will create massive wealth. But in terms of, is the idea of the creator economy here to stay? I think we are still at the very early stages. And I think people love having new voices. And I think they can follow, go back to your horse talk. Like, there's probably people that are famous on horse talk that you and I don't know, right? But they are building up their fame, and they have the opportunity to build their own brand in a way that was never possible 5 years ago.
Oh, Coinbase. All right. I actually am dying to open a Coinbase account. I legitimately had this conversation today. I was on Coinbase yesterday, and I'm like, do I want Coinbase or do I want Coinbase Pro? So why is Coinbase great? One, Coinbase is secure. Two, it allows you to store your digital currency. They handle multiple currencies. You can transfer your currency. You can buy more currency. You can sell your currency. If you are looking for a place to put all of your Bitcoin or all of your Ethereum or whatever fucking kind of crypto you've got, Coinbase is a platform that can help you manage it. So if you're looking to up-level your financial portfolio, if you're like, okay, I bought stocks, those are all in the toilet. Ooh, I've bought Bitcoin, that's all in the toilet. But you want to have a platform that enables you to have a very clear and secure view of your digital currency, of your Coinbase is a platform that can help you do that. I love Coinbase. I'm excited to get an upgraded Coinbase account myself. If you go to coinbase.com/Erika, that's coinbase.com/Erika, you can get a new Coinbase account and you get $10 in free Bitcoin if you sign up today. That's coinbase.com/Erika for $10 in free Bitcoin. It's a limited time offer, so be sure to sign up today. That's coinbase.com/Erika. We're on to Q&A. So first Q&A is, how does Barstool decide which talent participates in the live events and reality shows? Barstool versus America, Surviving Barstool, etc. Is it just whoever wants to be there, or is there some strategy to the group of people put together? Ooh, this is a good question. So I think one of the best things about Barstool is that there is a whole talent pool that sits outside to the left of this place that they're blogging, they're podcasting, they're in video shows, they're doing TikToks, people tend to cross over a lot of different shows and formats. And I think that's really, really different from most companies. Like when you look, we shot The Dozen last week. We had Wallow and Gilly here. We had Will Compton here. We had the Chiclets guys here. Like when you look at a normal media company, or you look at the creator, if you kind of back to the rich piece, you look at the creator economy, Charli D'Amelio is only going to do what Charli D'Amelio wants to do and what she's paid to do. So the ecosystem around a person or a personality becomes kind of finite, right? The Kardashians right now are at the wedding of the century in Italy, which I do actually oddly want to talk about. I'm watching that a lot. The Kardashians have the same effect as Barstool. It's just amongst everyone in the Kardashians. It's within the family. You've got Chris, who's the Dave type of character. You've got Courtney. You've got got Chloe, you've got Kim, you've got the kids, you've got their various boyfriends and spouses, you've got the people who aren't there, like Kanye. The outfits have been like very interesting. I've been following the outfits. I didn't understand the black. There's a lot of black, but then I look at Travis Barker and I'm like, you're pretty tatted up. Like black might be your bag. I do think she looks so happy though. I think she looks so happy. So I'm happy. Things I never thought I'd say. I'm happy for Kourtney Kardashian.
Honestly, same.
Back to Barstool reality shows. So I think part of what's so awesome about Barstool is just how people play off of and with one another. And I actually think the Pauls do this really well too, which is they kind of bop in and bop out of, conversations and memes and things happening with people, and they've put themselves in a lot of different circles. What's great about our reality shows is I think you get to see people who you otherwise may not know a whole lot about. It gives people the chance to develop their own personality by playing off of someone else. And then we're creating, from a production perspective, the catalyst for tension, right? Or drama or humor or entertainment, whatever that may be. So the casting is, are you available? Do people think you would be funny? Are you up for it? Are you going to be funny and interesting? Are you going to be dramatic? Someone like Joey and Pat, right? Like Pat and Joey is a phenomenal pick because you've got this whole duo vibe going. You have their bickering, you have their personalities, and then you have them in the mix with everybody else. So it's a little bit organic. It's a lot opportunistic. And then I think it's just chemistry of how do you cast any show? Typically you have a producer or a talent producer or a casting agent who's like, I want this type of profile and that type of profile. We don't do it that way. We're like, hey, look out in the pen, who's available, who isn't caught up in a podcast or a video show or whatever that may be, and who's going to mix it up with one another in a way that will unveil something that people haven't seen. All right, second question, back to the work questions. Wondering if Erika has any advice for women dealing with imposter syndrome. I'm in a place where I know I could be making a huge jump in my career, but I feel like I'm the only one holding me back. That's so sad. Don't hold yourself back. I think everybody feels like an imposter at times, and I think everyone feels like they're inferior or not good enough all the time. Like, I don't know anyone, save maybe like Dave Portnoy, who doesn't have doubts, and they can come to the surface. Sometimes you bury them and move past them. I think that the great thing about conquering your doubts is it gives you confidence that you can do it again and again and again. So the best thing to do is just to tell your doubt to shut the fuck up and like get moving and do something. And then you do it the first time and you feel good about it. And then you do it the second time and maybe it doesn't work, but you learn something. And then you also see that when you take a risk or you make a jump and you don't necessarily land, it's not catastrophic. Like, it still always works out. I read this like great quote once that essentially everything always works out because people by nature are optimists, and they're going to find a way to say or to make themselves feel that whatever the outcome may be, whatever the conclusion is, that there's a chance that they'll be happy as a result of it. So I think the biggest thing is like, don't let the doubts get in your way. I have doubts all the time. I also am like, I'm not doing enough, or I didn't do that the right way, or I shouldn't. And sometimes you just got to blow past that and try. And when you try, you learn. And the more you learn, the more you can do. It's like that. What's that NBC thing? Like, ding, ding, ding. Like, the more you know. The more you know. Like, the more you know, the more you can do. And maybe reframe how you feel about what you're trying to do as, hey, I'm going to try something so I learn more. And then that makes it less scary. Okay, third question. I have a single coworker that's on the same level as me under the manager that we share. Okay. Recently, the manager reached out to me about becoming a manager for our department as we recruit new members for our team. Do you have any advice on how to adjust from being the same level coworkers to now managing that person? Ooh, that's like the hardest management challenge there is, to become the boss of your friend or your peer. Awesome opportunity. You should take it. You should be like, thank you, manager, for recognizing that I can do more and I want to do more here. I think you also just need to be pretty straight with your peer, which is, don't announce anything before it's ready. Don't jump the gun. Wait for, the HR team or your manager or whatever to set the table so that you know who you're managing and when and why and how and all that. But then I also would give that person the courtesy of like, hey, as so-and-so, the manager said, like, I'm going to take on a new, bigger role. I'm really excited about it. Here are the things that I want to do. I know it could be kind of awkward since we were peers yesterday and today, we have a different type of relationship, but I'd love your feedback. Like, what do you think we should be doing? How do you think I can do the best job in this role? What do you want to be doing? Like, let's be a team. I think sometimes people get caught up in like a manager-employee thing of like, you're the boss and you're the manager. It doesn't have to be like that. You're like, hey, we're on a team together. I'm the captain of our part, right? Like I'm overseeing the defense or I'm running the offense. But you need that person to be as motivated and as excited as you are, because then they're going to make you more successful and they're going to be successful as a result. So I think my advice would be like, play it straight, like be calm. Don't go on a power trip. Like the worst thing you could do is go on a power trip. People hate power trips. It makes people crazy. It gives people a lot of things to bitch and talk about behind your back, and ultimately it will undermine you. I think the biggest thing is to be straight about it, be honest about what you know, and be honest about what you don't know. And listen and solicit a lot of feedback from that person on like, how do we make this work? At some point, you're going to tell that person to shut up and you're going to do it the way you want to do it. But the more input you give, the more respect that you show, and the more calm you are in this transition and the more mature you are in this transition, the better off you'll be. All right, circling back.
This is weird. Cheez-its and Pandora are in a partnership. Cheez-its found that sonically aged cheese helps with the taste. So literally, like as you're aging the cheese, hip-hop music is playing and it changes the taste of the Cheez-It. So they're partnering, Pandora's creating like a playlist, and they're partnering with Cheez-It X Pandora aged audio.
They're playing rap music so that it makes the Cheez-It
hip-hop music affected the final product's taste and smell. Cheez-It tapped Pandora to curate songs that shared qualities with those used in that research on its snacks for over 6.5 months.
I mean, did you see Coda?
No, I need to.
Oh, Coda's so good.
I know.
I mean, it's amazing. I bawled. But the greatest thing about Coda was the dad is deaf, or not the greatest thing, but one great moment in Coda is the dad is deaf and he blares rap music, like hardcore rap, because you can feel the vibration. Huh. And even though you're deaf, you can feel the vibration of the music. So clearly the cheese feels the same way. Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of an interesting discovery. Like that makes sense. If your body was vibrating all the time, like it would feel and probably smell and taste different.
So interesting.
But this seems a little bit gimmicky. I tried to do something like this, like in the late 90s, where I tried to, for Volkswagen, it was like configure a playlist that matches how you would configure a cabriolet. So I think it's kind of a gimmick. Yeah. But it's, to be honest with you, if you're marketing Cheez-Its, I just don't know why Cheez-Its doesn't advertise with Barstool Sports. I mean, probably because Dave Portnoy just eats a box of Cheez-Its on a daily basis. I think it's a cute marketing gimmick. Mm-hmm. I don't know if, like, who's listening to Pandora. I don't really know.
I don't.
And is that a Cheez-It buyer? I feel like my mother listens to Pandora.
I feel like Cheez-Its like are older people. Is it like a millennial snack?
No, it's not a millennial snack. So maybe it's like
Pandora,
my generation snack.
Maybe it is.
So maybe it's smart. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna give that thumbs up.
Well, they go on sale March 26th.
Thumbs down on what?
They go on sale. I mean, May 26th. They go on sale in 2 days.
But I don't want Cheez-Its that taste different. That's my issue.
Yeah, I wonder how different they'll taste. We should do a taste test.
Yeah, we should do a taste test.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do you watch Stranger Things?
Nope.
Do you know the show?
Yes.
So it's like supernatural.
Yep.
It's a great show. Domino's is partnering with Stranger Things ahead of their season 4 release, where you can mind order your pizza on the Domino's app, where you use facial recognition and you kind of like nod for the item or like shake off.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Look, I think what we're seeing is that it's getting so hard to stand out if you're a staple product. You're a frozen, you're a pizza.
Right.
You're a pizza delivery. You make steak sandwiches at low cost, or you have a salty snack.
Yeah.
And the need for creative marketing, I don't know that it works. to be honest with you. Like, I think the gimmick, I mean, Stranger Things might work, but it's kind of a gimmick. The Cheez-Its Pandora thing is a gimmick. I would rather advertise with Barstool Sports, but that's just me. I'm infinitely biased. But I think the other thing that's happening is because of the changes in Apple with privacy and just the cost to market on Facebook and Google, is marketers, as they always have done, are looking for big stunty things that get covered in the press and to use that as a way to differentiate themselves.
Like maybe that's more the marketing for the show than even the actual product that they're doing. Okay.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so that's it for today's episode. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast. You can follow us on all major platforms. Leave us a review, give us a rating, and get yourself some merch. And we will see you back here next week.